Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about atomic structure. Here we will study about Bohr's theory and hydrogen atomic spectra. Now let us know what are the postulates of Bohr theory. Now, in a Rutherford type atomic model, the electrons can revolve around the nucleus only along certain selected orbits. An electron does neither absorb nor emit any radiation as long as it moves in such a selected orbit. As the energy of an electron in such orbits remains unaltered, such orbits are also known as stationary orbits. This is the first postulate of Bohr. Now the criteria of selecting such an orbit follows from the principle angular momentum of electron should be an integer multiple of h by 2 pi. H here is the Planck's constant. If the mass and the velocity of the electron be respectively m and v at an orbit of radius r, its angular momentum will be mvr. Accordingly, r may have only those values for which mvr equals to nh by 2 pi. Now the angular momentum of the electron is thus said to be quantized, that is subdivided into smaller units of h by 2 pi. Now, angular momentum can increase only by steps of h by 2 pi. This part is important. Now, what here it means is that electrons should revolve around only through those circular orbits where angular momentum of an electron is an integral multiple of h by 2 pi. That is, angular momentum is mvr, which is equals to nh by 2 pi. Bohr's condition of quantization is this one, which is given here. Now, h is the Planck's constant and the value of Planck's constant is 6.624 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule second, and in arg this will be 10 to the power minus 27 in erg second. Now we go to the second part, that is when an electron is revolving around the circular orbits, that is specifically the stationary orbits, they neither emit nor absorb any kind of energy. Now, the second postulate. When an electron jumps from one such selected orbit to another, the difference of the energy between the two states is emitted or absorbed in accordance with the quantum theory of radiation. Thus, when an electron jumps from an orbit with energy E2 to an orbit of energy E1, the difference of energy, that is E2 minus E1, is emitted in the form of quantized radiation. That is, the energy which is releasing is also quantized. The frequency of nu of this emitted radiation will be given by the relation E2 minus E1, which is equals to h nu. Now, thus the appearance of discrete lines in the spectrum of atomic hydrogen can be explained in terms of jump of electrons between different selected orbits. Radiations of various definite frequencies are emitted thereby. So what I mean to say is, when an electron jumps from one stationary orbit to another, only then energy is absorbed or emitted according to the Planck's equation. Planck's equation is this one, or it can be represented as delta U equal to h nu. This nu, this frequency, is the frequency of absorbed as well as emitted radiation. Not only emitted radiation, in cases of absorption, it can also be for absorbed radiation. Right? Now we come across the third point. The atomic system obeys classical mechanics, that is Newtonian mechanics, in all other aspects. That is, leaving these two parts, the atomic subsystem or the system obeys all the mechanics of Newtonian mechanics in all other aspects. Now we will derive the expression of energy for associated stationary orbit. First of all, we assume a circular orbit. Here is our nucleus and this is our electron. The distance between nucleus and electron is r, and the charge of nucleus is Z into E. Now Z is the atomic number and E is the electronic charge. Here it will be the protonic charge. Assuming a circular orbit around a nucleus in which an electron rotates around the nucleus, the electron maintains distance r constantly as it moves around the nucleus. Then what it implies? The Coulombic force of attraction between them is equal to the centrifugal force. Now how is Coulombic force of attraction represented? Ze, that is charge of the nucleus, into the charge of the electron, that is into E, by r square, that is distance between the two represented by the square, and the centrifugal force is represented by mv square by r. Now on solving this, that is Z square by r square equal to mv square by r, we get r equal to Z square by mv square. Now from this formula only we can get mv square. What is mv square? If we cut the r's from here 1 1, then we obtain mv square equal to Z square by r. We know kinetic energy equal to half mv square. Now on substituting this value, we get the value of kinetic energy. So one part is already obtained. From the total energy, we are getting the kinetic energy. We need the potential energy to obtain the energy associated with the stationary orbit. Now we will obtain the value of r also, then velocity, and then we will approach towards the potential energy. Now see, applying the condition of stationary orbits, we get angular momentum is conserved. We know from the Bohr's theory that mvr equals to nh by 2 pi. So angular momentum is I omega. This is the formula of physics. So mr square omega, angular momentum is given by mr square. I is equal to mr square. Now mr square by v by r. This v by r represents omega. We get mvr equals to nh by 2 pi. Now squaring this formula, we get m square v square r square equals to n square h square by 4 pi square. Now here mv square, we separate it to substitute this value. On substituting this value, we get this equation. Now on taking r on this left side, we get the formula for radius. N square h square by 4 pi square m ze square. Radius of the orbit in line above has a connection with the orbit itself. Now what is the connection? It is actually Rn, that is n square h square by 4 pi square mz e square. So this is for each orbits present, and this is the formula of radius of Bohr orbit. This is important to know, as this is the formula of radius of Bohr orbit. Rn equals to n square h square by 4 pi square m z e square. Now from here we will continue. We have already obtained this r, right? Now radius of the orbit in the line, this is the Bohr orbit's radius. Now we will come to again this formula, quantized condition of the Bohr theory. From here we will take out the v in the left hand side and equate it, and we get 1 by r. We put the value of 1 by r here and we obtain the value of velocity with which the electron is moving. Now we see that v is directly proportional to z by n. Now what is potential energy here? The potential energy of the electron is defined as the work done in bringing electron from infinity to a distance r from the nucleus. That is, if we consider, suppose, an orbit with this as the nucleus and this is the electron, we need to make the electron come here, and it is present in an infinite distance. So the energy required for it to come to this part of the orbit, from infinity, is known as potential energy here. Now we come to the potential energy. Now here see, potential energy equals to integration of f dr from the limit of r, from infinity to the limit of r, because this is the lower limit, this is the upper limit. So coming from infinity and going to the r distance from the nucleus. Now we solve this part. On integrating, we get potential energy equals to minus z square by r. Since we have got this, previously we have got kinetic energy to be half z square by r. On adding this, we get the total energy. Then the formula of total energy is this one, minus 2z square e to the power 4 pi square by m, pi square into m by n square h square. This is the total energy. This is the total energy in CGS unit, that is arg. But if we try to convert this to the joule unit, like, so we multiply with 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. On putting the values of pi, epsilon naught, pi square, z square is kept as it is, e to the power 4, that is the charge of the electron here, n square h square. N square will remain as constant because it has no particular value, the value changes. So we get the value of the energy, that is this one, minus 13.58 z square n square in electron volts. It is important to understand that it is present, the unit is present in electron volt. This part, that is this energy is given in electron volt. By using these values and these values, we get the value of energy to be this. Now listen very carefully. This is an important derivation. I have shown you how to do this derivation. This derivation picture I will attach in the description box, the link for this picture. So please do see it. Now we come for the next one. Now finally we arrive to the energy expression with negative sign. Now this negative sign has also a significance. So this signifies that electron is bound to nucleus. Suppose if value of the energy is greater than or equal to 0, then electron will be too energetic to be confined within the binding of nucleus and will fly away. So this simply means that there is electrostatic attraction force between two opposite charged species, nucleus and electron, which allow it to remain binded. Now we will derive the Rydberg constant. We have already known the expression of energy. Now we will see that when an electron changes orbit, the energy involved is quantized, which will be given by h nu. If we consider a case of emission from energy level n equal to 2 to n equal to 1, then what we see is E equals to h nu. Now n equal to 2 refers to the energy level, not exactly 2, it is n2 and n1. Some corrections are required. This one is n2 and this is n1. We are taking the general cases, right? Now let us observe this. E equals to h nu. We substitute the value of energy from here. On substituting, we get an expression like this. Now h nu can also be written as c by lambda, that is wavelength is given in inverse with the velocity of light, that is we can write, we know the formula h nu equals to c by lambda. Now let us see. On putting this, we get this. C is taken here. Now this is more perfectly hc by lambda, right? So hc by lambda. Now this h comes down here, so we get this formula. This is the important formula. We have to understand this fact, as this is the most important formula. 1 by lambda equals to 2 pi square z square e to the power 4 m by h cube 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square, as we have converted the sign here because the energy expression is consisting of negative, so negative negative positive, this comes in front and this goes in back. Now we get this equation. This is the most important equation for us to know the absorption and emission spectra, and from here, that is from this formula, that is from this one, we get this formula. This is the Rydberg equation actually, and this is the Bohr's equation. So on matching we get the Rydberg's constant, which is equals to R infinity is given by 2 pi square e to the power 4 m by c h cube, right? And the value is this one, 109677 centimeter inverse, as it is inverse of wavelength, right? Now what we have to know is Bohr's expression for energy of an electron in a particular orbit when used for emission of electrons, that is when electron changes orbit, results in generation of an equation which is this one, right, which was already existing as an equation by Rydberg. Rydberg had this equation in his hand by 1888. This equation was time tested and was being used to explain emission spectra. Now we have to know what is the importance of Bohr's equation. For the first time, Rydberg equation could be arrived at from the solid foundation, as I have told you, provided physical interpretation of Rydberg constant. That is, the value of Rydberg's constant had a physical interpretation. Previously it was just theoretical based, now without any solid background, but after Bohr it got a solid background, and it was seen that the constant is actually connected to the parameters of matters that makes atom. So this is the important. Next we will know about hydrogen atomic spectra, as we have much talked about Bohr's theory. Now we have already derived this expression, right, the energy expression, and from there we have got this expression. Now on putting successive values of n1, we obtain the series of lines. See, this one also we have obtained from the Rydberg constant, right? When an electron emits radiations from any excited to energy state n equal to n1, series of lines are observed, 1 by lambda. Now we will put different values of the series in this. Now as we put consequently different values, like n1 if we take as 1, we will get a series of Lyman. Now in case of Lyman, if we take the value of this one as suppose 2, we will take a successive value 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So if we take the value of 2, this will be called as first line of Lyman series. Similarly, if we take this value as 2, this will be Balmer series. And the successive values can be 3, 4, 5 and going on. So when it is 3, we can write first line of Balmer series. Okay, similarly it continues just like this. Then we come across different series. We can substitute these values as 3, 4, 5, 6, and when we substitute here the values may be different. It should not be same. If we substitute here 2, we can substitute here 1 or 3, 4, 5, but not 2. Clear? Now let us see how the series are given. Now see this, when from first shell the electrons are being emitted and going to the above shells, we observe that this is the first Lyman series because it is coming from this n equal to 1, right? Next we come for second Balmer series. When n equal to 2, then it is Balmer series. So coming from here, that is n equal to 3, or coming to n equal to 4, or coming to n equal to 5, so this goes on, right? Similarly for other series, that is Paschen, bracket, P-Fun, this goes on. Let's see the chart. Now this is very important. Lyman series is lying in the ultraviolet region. Question comes that which series lies in which region? While asking numericals, the last question may be like which series is observed in which region. So we have to know this one. This is important. Now let us see this. Lyman series is observed in ultraviolet region. Balmer series is observed in visible region. Paschen is observed in infrared region. Bracket is observed in far infrared region. P-Fund is observed in far infrared, and Humphrey again after that. This part is not necessary because up to here it comes. Now these are the values of N1 in that formula which I have already shown you. So another important thing in this chart is to know this optical transition. Now what is optical transition? This is a transition which is taking place only during the Balmer series absorption or emission. So numericals can come across by asking for optical transition. When it is asking for optical transition, then you have to understand that it is asking for transitions from Balmer series. This is an important concept. Now next, we have seen the diagrams, and now we will see spectrums in reality. Now this is the energy levels. As we can see, these are the energy levels. Now right now we have to know what is absorption spectroscopy and what is emission spectra. That is spectroscopy, not, it is actually spectra. We will see absorption and emission spectra. Now let us see. When we see that electron comes from higher level, that is electron is coming from higher level to lower level, it will release energy. Okay, it will release energy and gives emission spectra, that is this one. And when electron goes from lower level to higher level, it absorbs energy and gives absorption spectra. This we have to always remember. Now we take a look in these two absorption spectra. Now this is spectra absorption spectra versus frequency, that is this one. First it goes as a discrete line, then after 4 or 5 it becomes a continuous line here. In case of lambda, it is just the opposite, as we know the formula H. Let us see the formula. H nu equals to Hc by lambda. So lambda and nu is inversely proportional. So if it comes here, it will go here, but the spectra will be just the opposite spectra, right? So this is the fact. This is an important spectra which we have to know. Now let us know what are the limitations of these theories. According to the classical mechanics, energy is radiated by electrons, as the orbital radiation must change and ultimately electrons must fall into nucleus. So in that case, energy should be radiated in a continuous manner, and observed line spectra showing discrete line is therefore not expected. But we obtain discrete line spectra where here classical theory fails to give explanation. That is, if a charged particle is moving around a charged particle, then it is, according to the classical mechanics, it should come and fall across it. But if it had been falling across this, then we would have got one single line in the spectra. But actually what we get? We get many lines. We have already observed the spectra. We get many lines. So why this is so occurring? This is occurring because classical theory is unable to explain all these phenomena. So this problem arises. Now we need to know the drawbacks of Bohr's theory. That is why Bohr's theory couldn't be confined to our knowledge. We had to extrapolate our knowledge to different theories. According to the Bohr's theory, there should be only one line when electron changes orbit from one energy level to another, but in practical several lines were obtained. This is already observed. The case for hydrogen He plus and lithium 2 plus, when applied to many electron system, it was found that the observations were not at all in agreement with the proposed theory. No explanation as to why there is a quantization of angular momentum, that is why mvr equal to nh by 2 pi. And explanation of Moseley's law, it is a law which we have learned already in class 12 in physics, could not be arrived at satisfactorily from the Bohr's primary hypothesis. Last but not the least, it couldn't explain the Zeeman and Stark effect. Now this is the checkpoint where there is few questions to solve. Take a screenshot and try to solve it on your own self. Now solving video will come from this checkpoint. So this much for today. Try to analyze each and every portion which I have explained today, and these questions are from these parts. So try, and thank you for watching.